Hey everyone, and welcome. So, have you ever looked around and felt like the world isn't just changing fast, but that everything feels, well, fragile? Today, we're going to dive into a framework that's designed to make sense of that very chaos.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? That the systems we all count on, everything from supply chains to our job markets, aren't just a little unstable, but that they could literally shatter at any moment? It's a pretty common feeling these days, and trust me, it is not just in your head.
In fact, there's actually a name for this feeling, this collective sense of fragility. It's a brand new way of looking at the world, a framework built for the exact pressures we're all facing right now.
And that name is BANI. It's an acronym, and it stands for Brittle, Anxious, Nonlinear, and Incomprehensible. It's a whole framework built on a really simple but kind of scary idea. Things don't just bend anymore, they break.
And this idea comes from the futurist James Cassio. He basically argued that the old models we used to use, like VUCA, just weren't cutting it anymore. They couldn't explain the kind of global crises that have become, way more common since 2020.
So, what do these four words actually mean in the real world? Let's break down each piece of BANI one by one.
First up, we've got B for brittle. And this one is really the foundation of the entire framework because it describes this deceptive strength you see in our modern systems.
So, brittleness is when a system looks really strong on the surface, but it has zero flexibility. It's like a sheet of glass. Under stress, it doesn't bend, it just shatters completely. Think about how global supply chains just stopped overnight, or how the entire tourism industry basically evaporated during the pandemic. That's brittleness in action. It forces you to ask, how strong are our strong systems really?
Now, the totally natural result of living in a brittle world is the A, which stands for anxious. This is all about the human response to that constant fragility.
You know what anxiety feels like? It's that sense of helplessness when everything just seems out of your control. It's that low-level, constant stress of just waiting for the next shoe to drop. You see it everywhere, in employees who are worried about their job security, and in leaders who are under this insane pressure to make perfect, crisis-proof decisions, in a world where that's just not possible. And this state of high alert doesn't just hurt morale, it completely paralyzes our ability to make decisions.
Okay, next up is N for non-linear. Now, this one can be a little tricky to wrap your head around, but it is absolutely crucial for understanding the world today.
Nonlinearity basically means that cause and effect are totally out of whack. A tiny, tiny action can lead to a massive, completely disproportionate reaction. You've seen this, right? A single bad review on social media can sink an entire product launch, or a small, seemingly boring policy change can trigger a huge, unexpected shift in the market. The old logic of if A, then B just doesn't apply anymore, and that makes planning for the future incredibly difficult.
And that leads us to our final letter, I for incomprehensible. This is where things get really bewildering.
So, something is incomprehensible when we just can't find a clear why for it, even when we have mountains of data. It's not that the answer is hidden, it's that there might not be a logical answer at all. A perfect example is an AI that makes a decision that no human can actually follow or interpret, or think about those market trends that seem to pop up out of nowhere with no rational explanation. This idea really challenges our core belief that if we just get more data, we'll get more clarity. Sometimes we just don't.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what does all of this look like when all four elements smash into a single industry at once? Well, let's take a look at hospitality.
You can see how it creates this insane chain reaction. It all starts with the brittleness of a sudden travel ban that just shuts everything down. That, of course, leads to the anxiety of constant staff burnout and total uncertainty. Then, a single viral guest review can have these massive, non-linear effects on a hotel's entire season. And all of this is happening while the hotel owners are trying to understand the incomprehensible algorithms that are basically controlling whether they succeed or fail on booking websites.
To really get why BANI is such a game changer, it helps to look at what it replaced. Now, a lot of you have probably heard of the older term, VUCA.
See, each piece of BANI is really an evolution of a VUCA idea. A volatile world becomes a brittle one, where things don't just fluctuate anymore, they break. Uncertainty deepens into a permanent state of anxiety. Complexity explodes into nonlinearity, and ambiguity, where the answer is maybe just a little unclear, becomes incomprehensibility, where there might not be an answer at all.
So here's the most important takeaway. The crucial shift is this. VUCA was a framework for how to deal with uncertainty. BANI is a framework for dealing with outright fragility and the very real possibility of total systemic collapse. That is a massive shift in how we see the world.
If you take just one thing away from our time together today, let it be this idea. BANI isn't about managing change. It's about understanding why things can fall apart so quickly and so completely. And that leaves us with the biggest, most important question of all. If we accept this, that we live in a brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible world, what do we do about it? How do we even start to build systems, companies, or even our own careers that are resilient enough to actually survive it all? That's the real challenge that BANI leaves us with.